Samuel was an honest farmer who lived on the edge of a small town surrounded by fields of green corn, bright vegetables, and golden wheat. Every morning before the sun rose, he would walk into his fields, tending each plant with care. Samuel believed that hard work brought rewards, and he had spent many years saving money to build a better life for his family. One Monday morning, Samuel decided it was time to deposit a large sum of his savings in the town's bank. It was money he had earned from selling vegetables and crops at the market for months. With a small leather bag in his hands, he walked down the dusty road, past the bakery where the sweet smell of bread filled the air, and past the little school where children laughed and played. The bank was a brick building with tall windows that reflected the sunlight. Inside it was bright and busy. Several people were waiting in line, and a few sat quietly in chairs reading the bank's notices. Samuel joined the line at the counter, smiling politely at those around him. He was greeted by Robert, the bank manager, a tall man with slicked back hair and a crisp suit. Robert had been the manager for several years, and many townspeople trusted him. Samuel had always respected him until this day. As Samuel placed his leather bag on the counter, Robert's expression changed. He looked at Samuel and then at the bag of money. Without saying a word, he reached over and grabbed the bag. Before Samuel could react, Robert tossed the bag onto the floor. The money spilled out like leaves in the wind. Samuel froze, his hands trembling as coins rolled and bills fluttered across the floor. Everyone in the bank stopped what they were doing. Some people gasped. Others stared in disbelief. Samuel bent down carefully, picking up each note and coin with steady hands. He felt a rush of anger, but he did not shout. He remembered the words his father once told him, "Always act with patience even when others act wrongly." "I worked hard for this money," Samuel said quietly, his voice steady. "I expect respect." Robert looked down at Samuel with a dismissive smirk and said, "This is how we do things here. Keep it in your bag next time." He turned his attention to the next customer as if nothing had happened. Samuel's hands were full of money, but he noticed how a few people were whispering behind him. Among them was Maria, a bank employee who had been working there for 3 years. Maria had seen Robert treat other customers unfairly before, but she had never seen him act this openly. She felt a mixture of anger and concern. Something inside her told her she could not stay silent this time. "Sir," Maria said, stepping forward carefully, "I think we need to handle this properly. Samuel has the right to deposit his money safely." Robert waved her off. "I am the manager. You do not need to interfere." Maria did not step back. She pulled out her phone and quietly made a call, whispering to the person on the other end about what had just happened. She knew the bank had rules, and what Robert had done was against every regulation. Meanwhile, Samuel had finally gathered all of his money. His heart still raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. He counted the money once more, ensuring nothing was missing. He looked up at Robert and said, "I came here to do the right thing. I did not expect this." A few other customers had moved closer, watching the interaction with curiosity. Some nodded in support of Samuel. One elderly woman whispered, "It is wrong to treat anyone this way. He has done nothing wrong." Robert's face grew red with anger, but he kept his tone controlled. "If you have no more business here, please leave." Samuel nodded and said, "I will. But I hope you understand that treating people with respect is more important than appearances." As he walked toward the door, he felt a mix of frustration and hope. He had faced unfair treatment many times in his life, but he also knew that patience and integrity were powerful. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, and he took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. His small daughter, Lily, was waiting by the fence near their home. She smiled when she saw him coming, and he smiled back. Inside the bank, Maria finished her phone call. She had informed the bank's regional office about the incident and requested immediate attention. Within minutes, a team was on its way to investigate Robert's actions. Maria felt a sense of relief knowing that Samuel might finally get justice. Back at home, Samuel placed the money carefully in a locked chest. Lily ran to him, hugging his legs. "Did everything go well, Papa?" she asked. Samuel looked at her and smiled. "It was difficult, but we handled it. Remember, Lily, always stay honest and brave even when others are not fair." That evening, Samuel sat by the fireplace thinking about the day. He remembered how Robert had thrown the money, how the people in the bank had watched silently, and how Maria had stood up to make things right. He realized that even in moments of unfairness, there were always people willing to do the right thing. As the sun set behind the hills, the sky turned shades of orange and pink. Samuel felt a calmness in his heart. He knew that tomorrow was a new day, and he was ready to face it with courage and patience. In the bank's main office, Robert paced nervously. He had received a call from the regional team asking him to wait for their arrival. For the first time in many years, he felt nervous and uncertain. He had treated Samuel unfairly, and he could not predict the consequences. The other employees whispered among themselves, sharing what had happened. Many hoped this would be a lesson in respect and fairness. Minutes later, a team of officials arrived at the bank. They spoke firmly with Robert, reviewing the reports and statements from witnesses, including Maria. Robert tried to defend his actions, but the evidence was clear. The officials discussed the situation quietly among themselves and then addressed Robert directly. "Your behavior towards Samuel was unacceptable," one official said. "Effective immediately, you are removed from your position as bank manager. We will ensure the bank operates with integrity and fairness moving forward." Robert's face turned pale. He had never imagined that such a simple act would have serious consequences. The employees watched silently as Robert collected his belongings and left the office, understanding that fairness and respect were more important than power or appearances. Meanwhile, Samuel received a call from the bank later that day. The officials wanted to apologize and ensure him that his money had been safely deposited. Samuel felt a wave of relief and gratitude. He realized that even in a world where people sometimes act wrongly, justice could still prevail if good people took action. That night, Samuel shared the story with his family. They celebrated quietly, not with loud noises, but with smiles and hugs. Samuel knew that the real victory was not just the return of his money, but the lesson that integrity and patience could overcome injustice. As Samuel closed his eyes to sleep, he thought about the next day in the fields, the fresh air, the green crops, and the market. Life was not always easy, but he had learned that standing up for what was right, even calmly and quietly, could make a difference. And in his heart he felt proud, knowing that he had faced unfairness with courage and that the world had responded with fairness in return. The news of what happened at the bank spread quickly through the small town. People whispered in markets, on streets, and even at the bus stop. Everyone seemed to know about Samuel, the hard-working farmer, and the way the bank manager Robert had treated him unfairly. But what made the story remarkable was how the situation ended. Robert had been removed from his position immediately after the bank's officials investigated. Samuel did not expect such attention. He continued with his daily life, tending to his fields, feeding his animals, and preparing vegetables for the market. Yet wherever he went, people greeted him with smiles and nods of respect. Some customers even insisted on helping him carry his baskets of vegetables to his small truck. Samuel felt a warm sense of community. For years he had worked quietly, keeping his life simple. Now he realized that his honesty and patience were inspiring others. Maria, the bank employee who had made the call to report Robert, became a quiet hero in the town as well. She continued to work at the bank, but now she noticed how people treated her differently. She received smiles from strangers and small words of thanks from the bank's customers. Though she was shy, Maria felt proud. She understood that standing up for what was right could make a real difference. The town's mayor, Mr. Thompson, called Samuel to his office one afternoon. The mayor was a kind man who cared about the town and its people. "Samuel," he said, "I want to personally thank you for your patience and courage. You showed everyone that honesty and respect are more important than power or money." Samuel bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, sir. I only did what I felt was right. I did not want to cause trouble. I just wanted my hard work to be treated with respect." The mayor smiled. "That is exactly why your story is so important. People need to see that fairness matters. We will make sure your example is shared, especially with the younger generation." Word reached the local school. Teachers spoke to their students about Samuel's actions, telling them that standing firm with honesty, even when others act unfairly, is a mark of true courage. Children listened eagerly. Some asked questions, trying to understand how a simple farmer could make such a difference. Samuel's story became part of their lessons on respect, integrity, and bravery. Meanwhile, at the bank, a new manager had been appointed. Her name was Helen. She was thoughtful, fair, and organized. From the first day, Helen emphasized that all customers must be treated equally and with respect. She personally apologized to Samuel for the way he had been treated and invited him to visit the bank whenever he needed assistance. Samuel felt relieved. The bank was finally a place where people could feel safe with their hard-earned money. Despite all the attention, Samuel stayed humble. He continued to rise early each morning and work in his fields. His routine remained the same, and his life remained simple. Yet he could not deny that the incident at the bank had changed something. People now looked at him differently, not because he had money, but because he had shown courage, patience, and fairness. One day, as Samuel was preparing vegetables to take to the market, a young boy approached him. "Are you Samuel?" the boy asked. "I heard what happened at the bank. You were very brave." Samuel smiled warmly. "Yes, I am Samuel. But bravery is not about fighting or anger. It is about standing up for what is right calmly and patiently." The boy nodded thoughtfully. "I want to be like you someday." Samuel patted the boy on the shoulder. "You already can if you always choose honesty and respect in your actions." At the market, Samuel noticed that more customers were stopping at his stall. Some were from neighboring towns, having heard about his story. They admired not only the quality of his vegetables, but also the integrity of the man who sold them. Samuel offered them smiles, shared stories of his farm, and sometimes even gave small lessons about growing plants and caring for the land. People enjoyed speaking with him, not just for his products, but for his wisdom and kindness. One afternoon, Maria visited Samuel at the market. She carried a small basket filled with fresh fruits from the town. "I wanted to thank you in person," she said. "Because of you, things changed at the bank. We now treat every customer with respect." Samuel shook her hand. "Thank you, Maria. You also made a difference. Your courage to speak up helped justice happen. Together we did the right thing." Maria smiled, feeling proud. "It is wonderful to see how your story is inspiring people everywhere. I think the town is becoming kinder because of it." Meanwhile, Robert, the former bank manager, had left town quietly. He tried to find work elsewhere, but his reputation had spread. People remembered the way he had thrown Samuel's money on the floor, and many places did not want to hire him. Robert was forced to reflect on his behavior and realize that treating people unfairly has serious consequences. Back at the farm, Samuel noticed the small changes in the town. Children waved to him as he passed. Older neighbors stopped to ask about his crops, and the market had become more lively than ever. He felt a quiet happiness that came not from money, but from seeing respect, fairness, and kindness grow around him. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Samuel sat on the porch with Lily. She asked him about the bank incident again. "Papa, why did that man throw your money on the floor?" Samuel thought for a moment. "Sometimes people forget the value of respect and honesty. They make wrong choices. But it is up to us to act calmly and do what is right, even when others do not." Lily nodded. "I want to be brave like you." Samuel smiled and held her hand. "You are already learning. Bravery is about making the right choices, even when it is hard. Never forget that." That night, Samuel went to bed feeling satisfied. He had faced unfairness with calmness, and the town had learned an important lesson. Justice had been served, and fairness had won. But more importantly, Samuel realized that courage and integrity could create change far beyond a single event. Days passed, and Samuel's farm continued to thrive. The new bank manager, Helen, introduced community programs that taught people about saving money and fair treatment in banking. Samuel volunteered to help teach these programs, sharing stories about patience, honesty, and the importance of respect. People came from nearby towns to learn from him. Samuel never imagined that his life as a simple farmer would touch so many people, yet it had. Maria continued her work at the bank, feeling proud of the positive change she had helped create. She and Samuel remained friends, often meeting to discuss ways to make the town a better place. Together they showed that courage, honesty, and kindness could transform even small moments into lessons for a community. In the evenings, Samuel often walked through his fields watching the sun set over the horizon. The air smelled of fresh earth and growing crops. He listened to the birds returning to their nests and felt peace in his heart. His life was simple, but it was full of purpose. He knew that one act of patience and integrity could inspire many people. The town continued to talk about Samuel's bravery for months. Children told each other his story, adults shared it with neighbors, and visitors to the market asked to meet the farmer who had taught a town about fairness. Samuel accepted all, the attention humbly, never boasting but always reminding people that the real hero was honesty itself. One morning the mayor called Samuel again. "We would like to give you a small award for your courage and integrity," he said. "It is not about the money or the honor. It is about recognizing the values you showed." Samuel accepted politely. "Thank you, sir. I do not need recognition. I only hope that my story encourages others to act with honesty and respect." The town continued to grow stronger. Samuel's actions reminded everyone that even a single act of patience and courage could spark change. And while he returned to his fields each day, planting, harvesting, and caring for his crops, Samuel knew that he had done more than just protect his money. He had shown the power of integrity and inspired a community to be better, kinder, and fairer. And so life in the town continued, brighter and more hopeful than before. Samuel remained the same humble farmer, yet his actions had created ripples that touched everyone around him. In the end, his courage, honesty, and quiet strength proved that fairness and respect could overcome injustice, leaving a lasting mark on the town he loved. Weeks passed since the incident at the bank, but Samuel's story continued to inspire the town. People often spoke about how courage and honesty could create change. Samuel, however, remained focused on his farm. He rose early each day, cared for his crops, and prepared fresh vegetables for the market. Yet he noticed something new. People were paying more attention to fairness and kindness in their own lives. One morning, Samuel received a letter in the mail. It was from a nearby town, asking him to come and speak at their community center about his experience. At first, Samuel hesitated. He had never considered himself a public speaker. He was a simple farmer, used to working with soil and seeds, not giving speeches. But he realized that this was another way he could help people learn about honesty and integrity. On the day of the talk, Samuel arrived at the community center with a small basket of vegetables as a gift for the organizers. The room was filled with people of all ages. Children sat at the front, eager to hear the story, while adults listened attentively. Samuel stood quietly at the front, taking a deep breath before speaking. "Good morning," he said, his voice calm but strong. "I am just a farmer. I grow vegetables, care for my land, and provide for my family. One day I faced unfairness at the bank, but I chose to remain patient and calm. I chose honesty over anger. That decision changed not only my life, but also the lives of the people around me." He told the audience about Robert, the bank manager who had thrown his money on the floor. He described how Maria, the bank employee, had stood up for what was right, and how the regional officials had removed Robert from his position. Samuel explained how the town had learned an important lesson about respect, fairness, and patience. As he spoke, he noticed the faces of the audience change. Children listened wide-eyed, imagining themselves standing up for what was right. Adults nodded slowly, realizing how small acts of courage could have a big impact. Samuel smiled quietly. He did not need applause or recognition. He simply wanted people to understand that fairness and integrity were more important than anger or power. After the talk, several people approached Samuel. One young man said, "I never thought I could make a difference, but your story shows that anyone can." "Thank you." An elderly woman added, "Your calmness and patience inspire us. We will teach our children to act with honesty, even in difficult situations." Samuel nodded humbly. "Remember, it is not about being brave in a loud or aggressive way. True courage is quiet. It is choosing the right action, even when others are unfair." When Samuel returned home, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He realized that his actions at the bank had created ripples far beyond his town. People in other communities were learning the same lesson he had lived. Back in his town, the market had grown busier. People from nearby areas came to buy Samuel's fresh vegetables and to meet the farmer whose story had traveled far. Samuel treated every customer with kindness, sharing tips about growing crops and encouraging everyone to act with honesty. He never boasted about his story. Instead, he quietly lived by the same principles he taught others. Maria often visited Samuel at the market. She had begun a program at the bank to teach children about money, honesty, and respect. Samuel helped her whenever he could, sharing simple lessons about fairness and the importance of doing what is right. Together, they found that combining education and real-life stories could influence people of all ages. Meanwhile, Robert was still struggling in the neighboring town. He had tried to find work, but people remembered the way he had treated Samuel. Many refused to hire him, and those who did warned him to behave properly. Slowly, Robert began to realize that his arrogance and disrespect had consequences. He started reflecting on his behavior, thinking about how he had lost respect and opportunity. One afternoon, Samuel noticed a young man in the market looking nervous as he approached. "Excuse me, sir," the young man said. "I heard about what happened at the bank. I want to learn how to be brave like you." Samuel smiled warmly. Bravery is simple. It is doing the right thing, even when it is hard. Stand calmly, act fairly, and never let anger guide your actions. That is courage. The young man nodded thoughtfully. "I will try. Thank you." As the days passed, Samuel observed more changes in the town. People were more polite to one another. Shopkeepers treated customers with extra care. Children spoke about fairness in their schools. Even disagreements were handled with calm words rather than arguments. Samuel realized that one event, handled with patience and integrity, had created a culture of respect throughout the town. One evening, as Samuel was walking through his fields, he noticed a small group of children playing near the edge of the farm. They waved at him excitedly, holding small baskets of vegetables they had picked with his guidance. He walked over and asked, "Are you learning how to take care of the plants?" "Yes," one child said. "And we are learning to be honest and fair too, just like you taught us." Samuel knelt down and smiled. "I am proud of you. Remember, always do what is right, even when it is not easy." The children nodded eagerly, their eyes shining with excitement. Samuel realized that his lessons were no longer just for adults. They were shaping the next generation. Meanwhile, the town council had organized a small celebration to honor Samuel's contributions to the community. The mayor gave a short speech, explaining how one man's calm courage had inspired respect, fairness, and kindness across the town. Samuel received a small certificate, but more importantly, he received the gratitude and admiration of the entire community. He thanked the council humbly, reminding everyone that the real reward was seeing honesty and respect grow among the people. Life continued and Samuel's farm thrived. Crops grew strong and the market was busier than ever. Samuel's family helped him in the fields, and he taught Lily, his daughter, the same values he lived by. One day, he told her, "You will face challenges where others may be unfair. Always act calmly, speak with honesty, and treat everyone with respect. That is how you make a difference." Lily listened carefully, understanding that her father's lessons were about more than farming. They were about life itself. She wanted to grow up to be brave and fair, just like him. Samuel also noticed that even small acts of kindness in the town had multiplied. A shopkeeper who helped a customer carry groceries, a teacher who praised a child for honesty, a neighbor who shared food with someone in need. These were small actions, but together they made the town stronger. Samuel realized that patience, integrity, and fairness were not just ideas. They were actions that could change lives. One day, Maria brought a letter from a national magazine. They wanted to feature Samuel's story, showing how honesty and courage could inspire communities. Samuel hesitated. He was a simple farmer, not a hero. But Maria encouraged him. "Your story can help even more people, Samuel. Share it, so the world can learn from your example." Samuel agreed. He gave a short interview, explaining how patience, honesty, and fairness had created change. He emphasized that anyone could do the same, no matter how small their actions seemed. By the end of the month, Samuel's story had reached far beyond his town. People from other states wrote letters thanking him for showing the importance of courage and integrity. Samuel continued his work quietly, always focusing on his family, his farm, and the values he believed in. Yet he felt proud, knowing that his simple life had inspired so many people to be better, fairer, and kinder. As the sun set over the fields, Samuel walked with Lily, teaching her how to care for the crops and the soil. He knew that these lessons were more than farming tips. They were lessons for life. Every plant they nurtured symbolized honesty, patience, and respect, qualities that could grow and flourish in any community. Samuel looked out over the green fields and smiled. He understood that true bravery was not about fighting or anger, but about acting with calm courage, standing for what is right, and inspiring others to do the same. And he knew that the town, the children, and even people he would never meet were learning the same lessons he had lived by, making the world a little brighter, one act of honesty at a time. Life in the town continued to flourish. Samuel's farm prospered, his vegetables were in high demand, and the townspeople treated each other with more care and respect than ever before. The small town, once quiet and ordinary, now had a spirit of community and fairness that inspired everyone. Samuel was proud, but he remained humble, focusing on the daily routines of farming and caring for his family. One sunny morning, Samuel was walking through his fields when he noticed a group of strangers near the edge of his property. Curious, he approached them carefully. They were carrying measuring tools and notebooks, speaking quietly among themselves. "Good morning," Samuel said politely. "Can I help you?" One of the men looked up and smiled. "Hello, sir. We are from the Agricultural Research Department. We heard about your farm and how well you manage your crops. We would like to study your techniques and share them with other farmers." Samuel felt honored but also slightly nervous. "I am just a farmer. I do my best, but I am not an expert." The man shook his head. "Sometimes the best lessons come from simple experience. We want to learn from you, and we hope you can show us your methods." Samuel agreed, and over the next few days, the team observed his work, asking questions about planting, watering, and caring for the soil. Samuel explained everything carefully, sharing his knowledge freely. He emphasized that patience, observation, and consistent effort were key to growing healthy crops. During this time, word spread that the Agricultural Research Department was visiting Samuel's farm. The town was excited. Children came to watch the process, asking questions about the plants and the farming techniques. Samuel encouraged their curiosity, teaching them not only about farming, but also about the importance of patience, honesty, and respect in all things. Meanwhile, a new challenge arose in the town. A large company announced plans to buy farmland to build a factory. Many farmers were worried because the factory could take away fertile land and affect the community. Some were tempted by the money, but others were concerned about preserving the land for future generations. Samuel attended the town meeting to discuss the issue. Farmers, townspeople, and company representatives gathered in the community hall. The mayor called the meeting to order and asked Samuel to speak. Samuel stood quietly, looking at the faces in the room. "I understand that money is important," he said, "but we must also consider what is best for our land and our community. If we lose our farms, we lose not only our livelihood, but also the values that have brought us together. We must act with honesty, fairness, and courage in making this decision." The crowd listened intently. Some were skeptical, worried about losing financial security. But Samuel continued, "I am not saying we should refuse every offer, but we must make choices that preserve our future, respect our land, and protect our community. Let us work together, listen to each other, and decide fairly." The company representatives spoke next, trying to persuade the farmers. They promised high payments and quick agreements. Some farmers felt tempted, but Samuel encouraged them to ask questions, think carefully, and not rush into decisions. In the days that followed, Samuel organized small groups of farmers to discuss the proposal. He encouraged open dialogue, listening to everyone's concerns, and ensuring that each voice was heard. Samuel reminded them of the lessons learned from his own experience at the bank. Patience, honesty, and calm courage could solve difficult problems. As the discussion progressed, the farmers began to see the importance of making fair and thoughtful choices. They realized that short-term gain could not outweigh the long-term well-being of their land and community. Samuel's influence guided them to make a decision that balanced fairness, honesty, and responsibility. Meanwhile, Maria helped organize educational sessions for the children of the town, teaching them about fairness, integrity, and community responsibility. She used Samuel's example, showing how one person's courage and patience could inspire change for everyone. Children practiced decision-making, problem-solving, and listening to others, learning that fairness and honesty were not just words, but actions that mattered every day. One afternoon, Samuel received a visit from the Agricultural Research Department. They were ready to present their findings. "Your techniques and approach are remarkable," one researcher said. "Not only do you produce excellent crops, but your guidance has strengthened the community's values. We hope to share your methods with other towns." Samuel smiled humbly. "I am just a farmer. I only do what I can. But if my work can help others, I am glad." The researchers spent the day documenting the farm and the community's involvement. They noted how Samuel's leadership, patience, and fairness had guided the town through difficult decisions. Samuel realized that lessons in integrity and respect were as important as lessons in farming. Back in the town, the factory proposal was finally decided. After careful discussion, the farmers and community agreed to allow limited development, ensuring that most farmland remained protected. The decision was fair, thoughtful, and respected everyone's opinions. The townspeople celebrated, grateful for Samuel's guidance and wisdom. Samuel returned to his farm with Lily by his side. "Papa, I am proud of you," she said. "You helped everyone make a good choice." Samuel ruffled her hair and smiled. "The town made the choice together, Lily. My role was only to guide them. Courage and honesty can help people, but everyone must act with respect and fairness." Days turned into weeks, and the town grew stronger. Samuel continued to care for his farm. The children continued to learn, and the community thrived. The lessons of honesty, patience, and courage had become part of everyday life. One evening, as the sun set over the fields, Samuel reflected on how far the town had come. He remembered the day at the bank when his money had been thrown on the floor. That moment, though painful, had taught him patience and integrity. From that day, the town had changed. People treated each other fairly, listened carefully, and made thoughtful decisions. Samuel realized that one act of courage handled with calmness and honesty could grow into something far greater than anyone expected. Maria visited the farm once more. "Samuel, your story keeps inspiring people," she said. "The way you act with honesty, patience, and fairness is teaching a whole generation. You have changed more than just our town. You are creating a ripple that will reach many communities." Samuel shook his head. "I am just a farmer. I only do my best each day. But if my actions help others, then I am glad. Remember, true courage is not loud. It is calm, patient, and fair." As the weeks passed, Samuel noticed something remarkable. Other towns began to contact his town, asking for advice on community decisions, farming practices, and fairness in leadership. Samuel shared his experience, humbly, emphasizing the importance of honesty, patience, and respect. The small town had become a model of integrity and community spirit. Meanwhile, Robert, the former bank manager, continued to face challenges. He had moved to another town, but news of his previous behavior had reached the new community. People were cautious, and he struggled to regain trust. Robert slowly realized that unfair actions and arrogance could have lasting consequences. Samuel's example had reached even him, showing that integrity and fairness always left a stronger mark than power or rudeness. Samuel continued his daily life, rising early, tending the fields, and teaching his daughter important lessons. Every plant he nurtured, every vegetable he harvested was a symbol of the values he lived by: patience, honesty, and respect. And as he worked, he knew that the town, the children, and the visitors who came to learn were growing stronger because of the choices he had made. The sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Samuel walked through the fields with Lily, teaching her the value of hard work, patience, and fairness. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but he was confident that honesty, integrity, and calm courage could overcome any obstacle. And in that quiet evening, surrounded by the green fields and the gentle sounds of nature, Samuel felt at peace. He had faced unfairness, guided his community, and helped shape a town that valued fairness, respect, and courage above all else. The seeds he had sown were not only in the soil, they were in the hearts of the people, growing stronger with each passing day. The town had changed in ways Samuel could hardly have imagined. What had begun as a single moment of unfairness at the bank had grown into a movement of respect, honesty, and fairness that touched every part of the community. People treated each other with care, listened to one another, and made thoughtful choices in their daily lives. Samuel remained humble, working in his fields, yet he quietly observed the positive changes unfolding around him. One bright morning, Samuel received an invitation from the mayor. The town wanted to celebrate the first anniversary of the day Samuel had faced unfairness and acted with calm courage. The celebration was not about him as an individual, but about the values his actions had inspired. Samuel was hesitant at first. He did not seek recognition, yet he agreed, understanding that this event would remind everyone, especially the younger generation, of the power of honesty and respect. On the day of the celebration, the town square was decorated with colorful banners. Children ran around carrying small signs with words like honesty, courage, and respect. Families gathered, and farmers from neighboring areas came to witness the event. Maria was there as well, smiling warmly at Samuel. She had organized the event to highlight the importance of integrity and calm courage in everyday life. The mayor stepped forward and addressed the crowd. Today we celebrate not one person, but the values that unite our community. A year ago, Samuel faced a challenge at the bank. He chose patience, honesty, and respect. And through his actions, he inspired our town to be better. Today we honor those values and the way they have changed our lives. Samuel stood quietly, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. He remembered the day the bank manager had thrown his money on the floor. That moment had been difficult, but it had taught him a lesson about calm courage, patience, and integrity. Those lessons had spread far beyond his expectations. Children were invited to the stage to speak about what they had learned. A young girl named Emily held a small bouquet of flowers. "I learned that even one person can make a difference," she said. Samuel showed us that honesty and patience are stronger than anger or unfairness. "I want to be like him." Another child, a boy named Daniel, added, "I try to help my friends and always tell the truth now." Samuel taught us that fairness is important in everything we do. The crowd applauded, and Samuel smiled quietly. He knew that true courage was not loud or showy. It was quiet, thoughtful, and steady. It was about making the right choices, even when it was difficult. And now those lessons had taken root in the hearts of the town's children. After the children spoke, the mayor invited Samuel to address the town. He stepped forward, his hands resting on the podium. "I am not a hero," he said softly. "I am a farmer. I do what I can every day to care for my family and my community, but I have learned that honesty, patience, and respect can inspire change. Each of us has the power to act with integrity, and each choice we make can influence others. Together we can create a community that is fair, kind, and strong." The audience listened silently, moved by his words. Many nodded in agreement, understanding that courage and fairness were not just ideas, they were actions that everyone could practice daily. After the speeches, the mayor presented Samuel with a small plaque. It read, "For inspiring a community through honesty, patience, and calm courage." Samuel accepted it with humility. "Thank you," he said quietly. "But the real honor belongs to everyone here. We all make this town better through our choices every day." The celebration continued with music, food, and laughter. Families shared stories. Neighbors helped each other carry baskets of vegetables, and children played games that emphasized teamwork and fairness. Samuel watched with quiet satisfaction. The town was thriving, not because of wealth or power, but because of the values its people shared. Over the following months, Samuel's influence continued to grow. Other towns began reaching out, asking for advice on building communities that valued honesty and integrity. Samuel traveled occasionally to share his experiences, always emphasizing the importance of calm courage, fairness, and respect. He never sought praise or recognition, only the opportunity to help others learn from his example. At home, Samuel continued to teach Lily and other children in the town about the importance of integrity. He encouraged them to be honest, to help one another, and to stand firm in their principles. Sometimes, he said, people will act unfairly. That is their choice. But our choice is to act with patience, fairness, and courage. That is how we make a real difference. Maria remained a close friend and ally, often visiting Samuel's farm to work on educational projects. Together they organized workshops for children and adults, teaching not only farming skills but also lessons about community, fairness, and integrity. The programs became so popular that even visitors from other towns came to learn from Samuel and Maria. One day, as Samuel worked in his fields, he noticed a group of teenagers approaching. They had heard about his story and wanted to learn from him. Samuel welcomed them warmly. "Bravery is not about fighting," he explained. "It is about calm courage, honesty, and respect. Every choice you make matters. Every act of fairness can create ripples that reach far beyond what you see." The teenagers listened attentively, taking notes and asking questions. Samuel guided them through the fields, showing them the crops, explaining the care and patience required for each plant, and connecting these lessons to life. He taught them that integrity and honesty were like seeds. When nurtured, they could grow into strong and lasting values. Meanwhile, the town continued to thrive. The factory had been carefully planned to protect farmland, and local businesses flourished. Farmers worked together to share knowledge and resources, inspired by Samuel's approach to fairness and collaboration. Conflicts were resolved calmly, and the community remained united. Even Robert, the former bank manager, had changed. Hearing about Samuel's story and the town's transformation, he reflected on his past actions. He realized that arrogance and disrespect had caused him to lose trust and opportunities. Slowly, he began to understand the value of fairness and honesty. Though it took time for him to rebuild his character, Samuel did not seek revenge or judgment. He knew that the lessons of integrity and patience were stronger when shared with understanding, rather than anger. One evening, Samuel sat on the porch with Lily, watching the sun set over the fields. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh vegetables and flowers. "Papa," Lily said softly, "I am proud of you. You helped the town and you taught everyone to be honest and fair." Samuel smiled and took her hand. "The town made the choice together, Lily. My role was only to guide them. Remember, courage is quiet, integrity is steady, and fairness is stronger than anger. If you live by these values, you can help others too." Lily nodded, understanding that her father's lessons were not just about farming, but about life itself. She wanted to grow up to be kind, honest, and brave, just like him. As the years passed, Samuel's farm remained a symbol of patience, hard work, and integrity. The children he taught grew up with strong values, and the town continued to thrive. Samuel never sought recognition or reward, but his example inspired countless people. Families treated one another with respect. Schools emphasized honesty and fairness, and visitors came from far and wide to learn from the town's story. Samuel often reflected on the journey that began with a single moment at the bank. That day, when his money had been thrown on the floor, had tested his patience and courage. By remaining calm, honest, and respectful, he had not only protected his own values but had also influenced an entire community. He realized that every challenge in life was an opportunity to act with integrity, and that even small acts of fairness could grow into something far greater than anyone expected. On a quiet evening, Samuel walked through his fields one last time before sunset. He looked at the green crops, the children playing nearby, and the people working together in harmony. A sense of peace filled his heart. The town was strong, fair, and united, and he knew that the values of honesty, courage, and respect would continue to grow long after he was gone. Samuel turned to Lily and said, "Always remember, life is full of choices. Choose patience, honesty, and fairness. Stand firm in what is right and help others when you can. That is the true measure of courage." Lily smiled, holding her father's hand tightly. "I will remember, Papa." As the sun disappeared below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the fields, Samuel felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced unfairness, guided his community, and inspired countless people. The town had become a living example of the power of calm courage, honesty, and respect. And in that moment, surrounded by the land he loved and the people whose lives he had touched, Samuel knew that true bravery and integrity would continue to shape the world, one act at a time.